And Rotarian Joe, I don't know whether you'd like to introduce PP Kafui.
Good evening, Rotarian President, fellow Rotarians, retractors, and guests. Today, today we are having a session with our own dear past President Kafui Konu. He's a member of one of the clubs that we chartered, the Rotary Club of Sunyani Central. And PP Kafui has spoken to us a few times. I think this is the second or so time. So he's no stranger to us. And he is an IT guru. He's the one who, if you are in any trouble, you can always count on him. And he's a very active Rotarian. He's also a member of the National Training Committee. So without much ado, I would like to kindly welcome PP Kafui to the Rotary Club of Accra-East. So PP Kafui, please kindly take us through community economic development in Rotary. So the floor is yours now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, PAG Adjo. Good evening, Rotarians and guests. It's always a pleasure to visit our mothers to show you that your children are doing well. And warm greetings from Sunyani Central, even though I'm in Accra. Let me just share my screen, please.
Okay, I think I need to stop sharing and then you should be good to go. So I think you are good to go.
All right. Thank you. I'm sure my screen can be seen.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So good evening once again. It's Community Economic Development Month in Rotary, and I'm privileged to just lead this session so that we all just discuss it. Hello?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, we all know that from last year, Rotary's 6 focus areas became 7. And every month there's a focus area that Rotary focuses on, and these are pretty much the courses that we are passionate about. And yes, I believe as Rotarians that once we see these areas through, the world will be the better place that we all wish it to be. But this month is Community Economic Development Month. So first off, I would like to start with a quote from Peter Drucker, one of the management gurus of our time. And he says that the ultimate resource in economic development is people. It is people, not capital or raw materials, that develop an economy. And so whilst we go through today's session, let this be at the back of our minds, that it is the investment in people that actually sees the development of our economy, and not the money or the raw materials that we perceive it to be. Now, how do we do this as Rotarians? So Rotary supports investments in people, which means that first off, Rotary has got it right to understand that it is an investment in people. And once we invest in people, what we do is to create improvements in their lives and their communities. And these improvements can be measured. And that's why most of the projects are sustainable, and they need to be enduring as well. Just to put everything into perspective, I would like to play this short video.
A single act of good can go a long way. It can cross oceans and foster opportunity. As members of Rotary, we are people of action, and our actions have the power to speak loud and clear. We choose to see the world for what it could be. Through our commitment to advancing economic and community development around the world, we've seen its boundless potential firsthand. Thanks to Rotarians like you, we've seen the number of people living in poverty worldwide drop by more than 50% in the last 20 years. Our efforts are fostering entrepreneurship and economic self-sufficiency to create lasting change. We're altering outlooks and feeding communities in need and giving families a viable path out of poverty. With vocational training, mentorship, and access to well-paying jobs. We believe that effective humanitarian organizations operate at the intersection of commerce and cause, allowing us to channel community and worldwide resources that open new doors. Today, we invite you to see what's possible. Every gift is an action that speaks volumes. When we take action, we change the world. Learn how you can support the cause that means the most to you.
Thank you. I'm sure after that video, there'll be no need for me to talk again, as that pretty much sums up what the theme for the month is. But we can still go on and just to look at the purpose and the goals of this particular focus area. So the first one is that the area is supposed to build the capacity of entrepreneurs, community leaders, local organizations, and community networks, such that they can support economic development in communities that are not so well to do or that are not blessed with social amenities and the like. Then another purpose is to develop opportunities for productive work. So it's not just about employing people or getting them gainfully employed in economic ventures, but also to ensure that they are effective, they are efficient, and more productive. And once you have more production, the economists and the finance people will tell us that your profit will be maximized. And of course, the ultimate goal is to reduce poverty in underserved communities. Then another goal is to support studies for career-minded professionals related to economic and community development. So you have some projects that are targeting students in schools or in courses which are geared towards the development of communities. So for instance, if you take UDS, where most of the studies is based on community development, such students can benefit from some projects from clubs or even a global grant. Now, how do you determine whether your project is eligible for a global grant under this particular focus area? So the Rotary Foundation considers some activities that target the following areas we'll be looking at to fall within the scope of economic and community development. So the first one is one that checks to see if this project that you have in mind is going to enable access to financial services for the poor. And this may include microcredit facilities, savings, or insurance. These are not an all-encompassing ventures, but by and large, these are mostly what is common to most of us: microcredit, savings, and insurance. So once you have a project in mind that is going to help the poor access financial services, that falls under this particular theme of economic community development. Then also you have a project, you should have a project that is going to train people, and this training is supposed to be related to economic and community development. This can be entrepreneurship ventures, community leadership, vocational skills training, or even financial literacy training. Now, small businesses or cooperatives or social enterprises that can be developed and that can also provide some income or generate income for the poor is also a project that can fall under this particular theme. And so we have what we call the adopt a village model, where people or a club or some individuals can adopt a particular village which is so impoverished that they do not have social amenities and ventures that can help them to be self-sustaining. So once they adopt, they include the village or the community, as it were, in the project from the onset till the project is done. Then we have agricultural development for subsistence and small farmers, including but not limited to the facilitation of access to markets. So, and this is a problem that I'm sure most people who have traveled around the countryside will have seen. where you have our farmers with large produce, but nowhere to access the market, either bad roads or they are cut off from the rest of the world, no network, stuff like that. And so if you have a project in mind that can help bring these people closer to access markets where they can sell their produce and be sustaining economically, that can also fall under this area. Community-led and coordinated adopt a village or comprehensive community development activities. So I've already spoken about the adopt a village model. The vocational training teams can be also sent to support all these activities that we mentioned. We have our second service. How do we call these things? The five. Oh, I know we have club service and then vocational service. Vocational service is the second one. I've just forgotten the name for this particular guiding principle. Avenues of service.
Avenues of service, yeah.
Avenues of service. So vocational service is our second avenue of service, and we have vocational teams, people who bring their expertise to bear to help support communities in the above subject areas that I've mentioned. Then we can also have scholarship for graduate level studies in programs related to local, regional, or national economic development, and programs that are specifically designated in community development. Of course, we know of the Peace Fellowship that's wholly suited to conflict and resolution area. So we also have scholarships that can be made specifically for community development. Now, sometimes clubs can come up with projects, but the Rotary Foundation has some of them that do not really qualify for global grants. It doesn't mean the club cannot go ahead and fund or embark on that project. The only thing is that they won't be eligible for a global grant. So one of such is community infrastructure projects, unless these projects result in a significant increase in the ability of community members to produce and distribute goods and services that create resources. So we are not supposed to have project. I won't say we are not supposed to. If a club has a project in mind where they are now going to build an infrastructure for the community, unless there's proof, especially when we do the needs assessment and we apply for global grants, we should be able to justify how this infrastructure we want to build in the community would result in a significant increase in how the members will produce and distribute goods and services that can help them to create wealth and be sustaining. Once you're able to prove that, then fine, that can pass. If you're not able to, we won't get the global fund. But like I said, it doesn't stop the club from still venturing into it. That is on the club level. Community beautification projects, landscaping and stuff like that also do not, will not get you a global fund under this focus area. And construction or rehabilitation of community centers. This is something I know in Ghana we've been doing. And so like I mentioned, it's not that once the Rotary Foundation says it's not eligible for global grants, the club cannot take it on. The club can take it on. And so we've seen some of our clubs go to rehabilitate and even construct some community centers for some communities. Now, these are some numbers that I just want us to dwell on while we see the impact and the importance of this particular focus area. Now, Rotary has spent about $9.2 million on reducing poverty and growing local economies around the world, $9.2 million. 70% of the world's poorest people live in rural areas, and these people depend on agriculture for their livelihood. And that's why the economic and community development, you see that one aspect is agricultural enhancement, where we can help them by getting better farming experiences, better farming equipment, just helping them so that what they depend on will be improved. And so you see, we also mentioned in the goals that we want to ensure that work is productive. So these are farmers, this is what they've been doing over the years, but we want them to be more productive. I got this from Statista. So Ghana's unemployment rate at the end of 2020, last year, was 4.53% of the total labor force. So of the people who are eligible to work, 4.53 of them are unemployed as at the end of 2020, and there's a projection that it might be 4.6 at the end of this year, and then probably reduce from 2022. 38.9% of Ghana's population aged 15 and above have a mobile money account. And so in the community economic development goals, we mentioned how we can have the poor access financial services. Most of these people who have mobile money accounts are not with traditional banks. And that's because some of them are in remote areas where there are no banks. But mobile money seems to be everywhere. So if we can find ways of getting these people onto with the mobile money and get access to some interest-free loans to improve their businesses, that can also empower them and they will be self-sustaining. In Nigeria, studies show that a mere 1% investment in human resource, such as education and training, will lead to more than 66% decrease in poverty. Now, this is huge, and that tells you how education and training can change the story in a community. If you invest just 1%, over 66% return on investment is what you get. So you can just imagine if we increase the percentage of investment, we will leave a lot of people happier. And we ourselves as a generation, as a people, will be happy for it. Some of the ways we can practicalize this focus area. So the first broad one is under income generation and savings. What we can do is to purchase goods and supplies locally to boost the local economy. And this most of us do, especially when we run our global grants. We have the host partners who are the international partners, send down the money and we buy the goods and the supplies from local entrepreneurs and local suppliers. This goes back to help the local economy. So that's one way of doing that. Another way is to establish what we call the Rotary Community Core to identify barriers to community development. These are individuals who are not Rotarians, but live within a community. They have interest in Rotary, and they understand the local terrain better than us Rotarians. Because sometimes the club does not even stay or live, members do not live in the communities that we serve. But the community core are individuals who live there or interact with people there on a daily basis. So once we have this group of people stationed there, it is easier for them to identify the particular urgent need of the organization and help us to also identify how to better serve their needs and help them to be self-sustaining. I think some clubs in Ghana already have a Rotary Community Core. PAG Theo Akofio-Soa is more like a champion for this. And so for clubs that are interested in establishing a Rotary Community Core, I would encourage you to talk to him so we get these people on board. These people are more like satellite campuses for the University of Rotary. So they can help us better serve our communities. Another thing we can do is to assist entrepreneurs to access funds. And these they can use to buy livestock or seed or even get training in sustainable farming. So we could have training sessions for farmers, get them to access better seeds and show them better farming methods. If it's irrigation, better irrigation methods and stuff like work with the agri extension officers so that their yield can be more than it is now and they can get access to markets and do that. One thing we can do is to leverage on the knowledge of Rotarian action groups. These are Rotarians, but they are experts in their fields. And they use these expertise to run projects to help communities. So there's a particular Rotarian action group for economic community development, known as the Rotarian action group for economic community development. And once you visit their website, you have, apart from becoming a member, you have a host of resources to even see the projects they've run and to understand what we can do to help our facilities and communities economically. Then the other thing we can do to help in income generating and savings is to teach rural women financial literacy courses so they can access loans. And once they access, these loans can be interest-free, zero rates. And once they get such loans, they can pool even their money together to fund their own programs. Now, the picture that we see on the right, I got from PP Apanga, Lamtek Apanga of Accra Ridge, and he visited Sirigu village near Bogatanga some time ago. And these are pots that are created, that are designed and made by women, old women, young women in the community. So he even brought some for people to buy so that the women can sort of start getting some access to markets beyond Bogatanga and their village. And this is one thing that we can do to actually see these women, group them together and teach them financial literacy. They can better understand their finances, get to understand how to invest into the business, form a cooperative themselves, put their money together, and they can be financially sustaining. The other broad thing is job creation and entrepreneurship. So one way is to organize mentorship programs and job fairs. This we can do with schools, we can do that with some training organizations as well, or even as clubs, we could run our own mentorship programs where we even tutor our young ones on interview skills or other things that we feel can help them to be self-sustaining. People finish school now, and even writing application letters is difficult for some of them. It's funny, but that's the truth. It's difficult. One project that I found fascinating is the one that Accra Airport had with Soronko Academy to train girls in ICT. Most of these girls are now mentors, moving around villages and communities in the country and training other girls to code and to be IT inclined. And this is something that is building their confidence. It's something that is helping other people get some jobs, because now the IT industry is just flourishing and most people are moving digital. So it's important to get more hands of people who understand this digital thing and to help to bridge the digital gap. So that's one way of doing this. The other is to identify an organization or cooperative that has an existing production and sales in the marketplace and provide equipment or supplies. So for instance, in 2019, the Rotary Club of Accra-West donated catering equipment to the Okropon School for the Blind. Now, this is a school that teaches vocational skills, among other things. And so they've identified this organization, which is the school, realized that there's the need for them to get equipment because there's this existing production and sales that the school itself does to sustain the running of the school. So this one project that falls under this team. Then, of course, we can send a vocational team to teach business leaders on business plans and financial literacy. So here you have the Rotary Club of Kumasi with Social Enterprise Ghana and some other social enterprises meeting Kaya porters and some other market women, teaching them financial literacy skills, accounting, basic accounting, how to invest their money into stuff, how to identify some customers and customer relations and soft skills like that. And these are all ways of empowering people in the community so they become self-sustaining. Thank you for your time, and I would want any comments or questions so we discuss this further. Thank you very much.
Thank you, PP Kafui, Rotarian, fellow Rotarians, guests. I have a question from Andrew Sufosihini. PE Andrews, please go ahead.
No, Rotarian President, it was a question. I was just applauding for the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thanks once again. Are there not any questions? Rotarian Edwin has his hand up. Rotarian Edwin, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And thank you, PP, for the presentation. Mine is just information which I think should be very important for us when we want to get involved in the community economic development. Yeah, I think at the moment, all the district assemblies have prepared what are called local economic development plans. So I would want to suggest that if any Rotary Club wants to go into any district to operate, then I think their first point of call should be to find out about the local economic development plan for that district so that they can fit their program into the assembly's economic development activities. We don't want to have a situation where Rotary goes in and does something which is not part of the plan for the assembly. So this is just information that I thought I should just bring up so that our clubs become very much aware that they should go into the